Welcome back to Why Blank Lost as we kick things off for a Survivor season that is being celebrated almost as much as our 10th anniversary year.
Almost as much.
Almost
That is
as
correct.
much. Yes.
Almost as much. That's a very fair statement to start out with, I will say. Yeah.
I'm David Bloomberg, and of course, that other voice you hear or person you see is my co-host, Jessica Lewis, who, according to a rumor I'm starting right now, turned down a spot on Survivor 50 just so she could podcast about the season.
That would have been really amazing to actually have an opportunity to do, but I'm sorry, David, I love you, but I do believe I would have taken a spot on 50.
Man.
But you know what was crazy? I do recall one of the survivors mentioning how scared they are of those people who have been podcasting and picking apart everyone's game. And I was like, well, isn't that interesting? A little
Yes.
extra fear from a podcaster. I did appreciate that a lot. So, but unfortunately, I am not on season 50. However, it's actually really fine. Me here instead. Because let me tell you, this is getting a little bit intense, I will just say. Like leading up to finding out who was chosen, people debating why people were picked and who should have been picked and who didn't get picked. And it's just like, it's kind of a lot. So I would rather be in this seat talking about everybody as opposed to people talking about me. So we're good.
Okay. Well, good. I would rather you got a chance to play again, but barring that, I would, of course, much rather have you here.
Thank you.
So listeners, by now you have seen or heard or watched some or all of the various preseason interviews, or maybe you were just holding off for us, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
But now it is time for us to condense that all down and tell you our thoughts on what the Survivor 50 returning players had to say and how we think it will pan out going forward, which, of course, includes Jessica eventually cursing someone backwards in time when we discuss our winner predictions.
Oh, and I'm so sorry. I am apologizing right now for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, for anyone who is a new listener, welcome. For those who have listened before, welcome back. As a reminder to the latter and to bring the former up to speed, once the season starts, every week we will discuss what each voted out player did right and wrong in terms of rules I originally wrote way back after the very first Survivor season and have been updating ever since. We look at each episode and also back to everything that's led up to it, going beyond what's on TV to also dive into everything we can find that's not a spoiler, including interviews, secret scenes, social media, and more. But for right now, we're, of course, still in the pregame stage. This season, we are splitting up our preview into two parts because talking about 24 players all at once would either make this a really long podcast or a not very helpful podcast. It would be like, okay, there's Christian, boom. There's Siri, boom. There's Emily, boom. You know,
and it's still going to feel a little bit like that, even
yes,
in the condensed version.
We're going to discuss the Cila and Kalo tribes today. And then in a few days, we'll finish up with the Vatu tribe and our overall thoughts and predictions. We're going to try to spend just a few minutes on each player to pick out the highlights or the lowlights in some cases that tell us something about how the person will play this game, especially in relation to my rules. And of course, we'll consider how they've played in the past as well. At the end, we'll pick who we think will do the best and the worst. Now, I want to mention that although Mike and Rob discussed what they think about each tribe, I have personally avoided that because I don't want my thoughts or predictions to be affected by anyone else. So if you hear me say the same thing, like, oh, I think these people will work together, I think they'll target this, or if I make the same joke that they have, which has happened in the past, that's why. So, this podcast, well, if you've turned this on now, you already know how long it is. We don't. We're going into this. We have no idea how long this podcast is going to be. Normally, we attempt a certain time frame and then we're a half hour longer. We're going to see what happens here because some of these players I have a lot on. Some of them I have much less on. And especially when it comes to the Cila tribe, there is so much talking about other players and what they think and who might join with whom, that
Mm,
it ends up expanding greatly what there is to discuss.
yeah. Yeah,
We'll
and
you know,
I will say too, I'll add the same, that there were so much content that was existing in the universe about season 50 and about all of the players, that it was like it's too much. It was so much to try to ingest and take in, that I've limited myself as well. And so it's going to be a lot of my own thoughts, my
right.
recollection of them as players, and then the information that was put together by some of the like Mike Bloom and Dalton Ross and people of that sort that put together things. But anyone who had a take on it, I avoided it as well. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yep. All right, then let's get started. We're going to go through each tribe alphabetically by first name. And because these are all returning players, we don't need to go through things like their real world jobs and that kind of background.
Right,
We'll
right.
focus on the good stuff.
All
So let's
right.
start with Cila. And first up is Dr. Christian Hubicki. He is now 39, which I did not realize.
Mm.
I thought he was younger than that. I also didn't realize it's been like 7 years since his season. I mean,
Oh, I
I
know.
know, I understand there have been 5 years of the new era, but while I understand it, my brain doesn't quite wrap all the way around it. I
Yeah.
still think of Christian as new, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, to find that out, it's like, whoa. Uh, Now, the main thing that I saw that came out of Christian's interviews is he has a different view of the game and now sees it as a battle of narratives. For
Yes.
example, he was labeled as the David who was narratively destined to win if he made it too far, so they voted him out. And now he sees how important it is to control that narrative and get people to believe what you're saying about others or even about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And he used Mike White as the kind of impetus to where that thought
Hmm.
process was coming from, which I had forgotten that that's what Mike White had done on his season, that he was just planting little tiny seeds about people and then letting other people run with this narrative about the person, which then had a detrimental effect on someone like Christian in his
Yep.
season. So I really thought that that was impressive, that he's taken time to really think about the game. I loved how he said it provokes introspection. And I thought that that was lovely, that he this is such a Christian thing to say, right? But I found it fascinating that he is taking a much different approach, and he is also so aware of himself and how others will view him, which I also think is potentially going to be problematic for him, just because everybody has an opinion about Christian Hubicki. Because how can you
Yes.
not, right?
Right.
How can you not?
Right.
So I am concerned about how he will be seen by the other people in his tribe.
Yeah. Now, this idea of his of controlling narratives is interesting to me because, in a way, it's something you and I have talked about before. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, if there is a player who others start saying is a goat, then almost
Mm-hmm.
every time that person becomes a goat
Right. Yep.
because the players who are talking about it and convincing each other, they're the ones who end up becoming the jury.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're convinced that person isn't doing anything or is being dragged along or whatever, then that is the story they will take to the jury and into final tribal council. And similarly, as Christian found out, if someone is labeled as a person who will win, well, then you have to get rid of them. And the flip side of this, and we have seen this in several recent seasons, is if you don't get rid of them and you end up in final three with them, you're screwed because how
Yes.
can you suddenly change your tune and argue they shouldn't win after having told people they will win?
Yes. That is an impossible mountain to climb, because whatever you are creating about that person, you have to be cognizant of if you are sitting next to that person, and whatever that narrative consists of. And Christian was someone who everyone thought was going to win if he made it to the final three. And I don't know if him now returning for season 50, that narrative has gone away, because I feel like someone will probably remember that that's what the narrative was. And so there's probably still going to be that concern with Christian should he make it to the final three.
Yeah. And, that's why controlling the narrative on who the threats are will be extremely important on a
Mhm.
season like this. And this is something we'll see through the rest of this episode of the podcast and likely next episode too, is you know, he's known for a while that this was going to be the way he would play if he were ever invited back. But he told Mike Bloom he, quote, kept this close to the vest across probably 60 hours of podcasts at this point. That is some serious planning.
Yes.
And he also kept the pregnancy of his wife and birth of his son a complete secret as well. When he got back from 50 and I heard about it on a podcast, I thought that I had just somehow missed it, and I was embarrassed that I hadn't congratulated him sooner. And then now it turns out, oh no, he hid it from everyone. That's why.
He's been planning. He has been planning all along. Well, but also he did share that he had been contacted for season 40 before it was changed to Winners at War. Right. And so he at least was very aware of this idea that he would be returning. And so I don't think he ever stopped preparing himself for that next phone call. And I can appreciate the approach. And it again seems very in line with the type of person he is to have taken every approach possible, as opposed to just, I'm going to do push-ups and I'm going to try to push heavy things and balance on a beam. No, he's doing like mental preparation and also preparing himself to like battle those people he has to play against with something like, I'm not even going to tell you that I've had a child. Like, that's how serious he is about wanting to control the narrative and how people will perceive him.
Right. And, he told Mike Bloom the thing about creating the narrative is you can make up whatever narrative you want. And he gave some examples like, Aussie, would the fans want all the old schoolers to stick together? Charlie, are the fans going to be happy if you just stick together with all the new schoolers? And he said, Charlie might not buy it, but some people will. And those people who are most susceptible to the narratives are the ones he wants around. And the least susceptible, he wants to get rid of. So that's an interesting new way, a new twist on being a threat. Like, sorry, you're not subject to brainwashing. Therefore, I need to get rid of you.
Right. And I do think there's some people in his tribe that are subject to brainwashing, but I also think there's quite a few that are not. So,
right.
So we will see. We will see.
And then he also noted the fan vote results are uncertain, so he can create a narrative there too, like inventing advantages that don't exist. But the funny thing is, he's going to get into the game and he's going to find out like about the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. And he'll probably be like, what the hell? I couldn't even have invented something like that.
And I don't think anybody could have invented anything like the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. Like, what are we doing?
Anyway. We're sticking names on, whatever. I made a video about this. Jeff did an interview with Mike Bloom, and it's like branding is what it is. Jeff was going to come up with new stuff anyway. He just stuck a name on it,
Right.
And so it's like, okay, whatever. So yeah, Christian is moving from the stereotypical engineer to the writer, which is kind of funny because that's what I did like my whole life. And also, like me, he's still an engineer at heart. And, he told Mike, he wrote out tables ahead of time of like what to do in what situations to maneuver the votes the way he wants them, which is a very engineering and programming thing to do.
Yeah, and he talked about his season as well, where he didn't do that, and if he had, how he could have ultimately changed the entire trajectory of the game. And so he really did take time looking at how other people played his season with him, which is probably the best thing for anyone to do prepping for the next season you're coming into, because you know all of the information, right? You've experienced it, then you've read all of the interviews, you've seen the podcast, you've had conversations, so you can really pick it apart in a much different way because you have all of that extra in-game knowledge that you can use. And he's realizing how he should have approached that vote differently, which sounds like he's going to be utilizing that same strategy moving forward.
Yeah. Now I want to highlight a couple of the pregame ideas about other players for each person as well. Christian talked about trying to align with Siri and thinks he has a plan to get her to want to work with him by telling her they have similar problems to different degrees. Neither can make a final tribal council. Both have targets. So he intends to propose a final 3 alliance, which I have to say would be like a dream alliance for me. And by the way, I just remembered I was supposed to have this up there the whole time because
look at this.
We don't have we're not doing, I mean, everybody knows what the cast looks like, so we don't need to put cast photos up, but I am putting up photos of either me or us with the cast. So
Oh, look at
here we
that. That's
go. This,
lovely. I
yes.
love that.
Uh, so, um, so anyway, sorry I didn't have that up earlier. I totally forgot. But we will see what Sri has to say about it in a couple minutes here. He also thinks he would make a good duo with Rick Devens, which would also be fun to see.
Yeah. So and yes, but we will be discussing what Suri thinks about Christian in a moment.
Well, you make it sound like that's a bad thing.
I don't know. It'll be I do think that if Christian is able to win over Suri,
Mm-hmm.
that would be an incredible thing to see.
Yes.
And also like he and Rick are so very, I don't want to say they're similar in their kind of approach, but they got this quirkiness about them
Mm-hmm.
that I think would be a very fun viewing experience, right? To see them actually playing the game together. So, but
Yes.
I feel like there might be some hesitancy by, if I don't remember if it was which one, but there seemed to be some hesitancy by at
Yeah.
least one of them about those two coming together.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can indeed move on to Suri. And there we are.
Ah, look at us. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. She's such a lovely human being. Oh my, that
Yes.
is forever ago too. That was so long.
That was a while ago. Yeah,
Yes, it was.
that was probably, I'm guessing you've been on the podcast for 8 years. I'm guessing that's about 7 or 7.5 years ago.
Probably. Yeah, that was a good time. She's so sweet.
Yeah.
And I cannot believe she's back.
Yes.
I'm stunned.
Yes. She is 55. So she is still
She'll
not as old as me. She never will be. But because that's the way age works. But she said she realizes she needs to make friends quickly and be with people who trust her loyalty. And she's Suri, so I absolutely think she can do that. Heck, she'll be on a tribe with Aussie, who she worked with on Game Changers.
Right.
And we just mentioned Christian wants to work with her. So now I'm envisioning this epic Suri Christian Aussie alliance.
Well, yes, and I know we're going to talk about Ozzy as well, but Ozzy is like, I feel like he's wanting to work with Suri. Like, didn't he
Mm-hmm.
refer like best friend? And what I find fascinating about this particular like structure is that she's had multiple experiences with Ozzy. It's not just like one
Right.
season that she ended up playing with Ozzy, and so she has very intimate knowledge of him as he does of her. And so I'm amazed that they put them on a tribe together. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
quite surprised by that. And I'm very curious to see if they're going to be able to come together. But she does recognize that she needs to make friends quickly.
Yeah.
And I I'm curious how much of an impact her presence is going to necessarily just have. I would think that if I was on a tribe with Suri, there would almost be like two extremes. It's either she needs to go right away because she
Mm-hmm.
is the scariest person ever to like play the game. So like no, she's got to go immediately. Or you just would be so like drawn in
Right.
and just I get to play with Suri. Like
Yes.
this is amazing. Like you feel like the chosen one, right? If she decides that she wants to play with you. And I don't know which way I would actually react if I were in this situation, but I really do feel like she is going to have such a pull on people to respond a very particular way. There is no chance that Suri is going to be able to just kind of like hide in the background or
Mm-hmm.
just kind of
Oh,
be
right.
present. Not a chance at all. She is going to
Right.
be like front and center, and it will be an incredible thing to watch.
Yeah, and now you hinted at she is a bit scared of Christian. So he's going to
Mm-hmm.
need to work to convince her. I think he can do it. But Christian wants to work with Rick and Suri, but Suri thinks Rick was being too much with his smiling at everyone and playing too hard in the
Yes.
pregame. In fact, this
Mm-hmm.
is something we will hear like throughout both of these podcasts. I don't
Yes.
know what Rick was doing in pregame, but I think he was described by some as like a Labrador and a,
Yes.
that he was
Yes.
just, he was, I don't know. He was trying to be friendly and he is a friendly guy. But Suri noticed it and so did others. But
Yeah.
She did say she could see working with him for maybe a vote or two. So maybe there is hope for those few to get together there.
Yes, I think what Rick is doing, and I know we're not talking about him yet, but just based on what I've necessarily read from others saying, he's doing the opposite of what Christian was doing, where
Yeah.
Christian was like, I would like to make sure that I control my narrative in the best way possible. Where Rick is like, I want everybody to see me this way, but it's
Yeah.
really not benefiting him pregame in the slightest. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see how Rick interacts with everyone once they're out of pregame.
Yes. Now, some interesting strategic insights Cherie had include something similar to what Christian was saying, that there are bigger and more recent threats.
Mm,
She said about Kyle, and it turns out that this applies to Savannah as well. You have someone who won the game yesterday and is still hungry enough to come back today. I think that's a bigger target than myself. You have someone who almost broke the record for challenges back again. So I think, yeah, I may have a target, but I feel like we all have targets, and it just is going to depend on who's able to spotlight whose target the fastest. So it's that
yeah.
narrative again. And I'm sorry,
Mhm.
Siri, you do have a bigger threat level than winners. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
but I think it's a different threat, a different threat level, and a different type of target. And so in many ways, I think people will want to get rid of the winners before her.
I don't disagree with them wanting to get rid of the winners because that's easy, right? That's an
Hmm.
easy thing to just be like, winners got to go. And there's 3 of them, and so you
Right.
have an opportunity to kind of draw some people in with just that idea because again, Suri is going to be one of those individuals that can be there's going to be such a response to her being present that you have to be very careful with how you necessarily present her as an option, right? If you're
Hmm.
going to an individual and saying, well, I think the winner's got to go. Well, that's just kind of an overarching theme,
Right.
right? Oh, the winners need to leave. But now it's like Suri has to go. That's very particular,
Yes.
right? To Suri. And I feel very concerned for anyone. And Christian's idea of let's sit in the final 3 together,
Hmm.
that's a terrible idea because if Suri is in the final 3, Suri is winning. I just
Well,
like I don't
yeah. I don't know if
I
he really. I mean, he may. I know that there were some people who said, "Yeah, I really do." He may get out there and be perfectly willing to do it, and then at the last minute be like,
change.
"Nope." But he may
Yes.
also be like, "No, you know what? She deserves it. What the hell?"
Well, and that is going to be, I feel like, the overarching response from anyone seeing Suri. If she is sitting there in the final 3, they're
Hmm.
all going to be thinking, well, yeah,
Yeah.
Suri has to win. Like, she has to win at this point because she is the like epitome of what
Right.
Survivor is as far as a social game, and she's on the Mount Rushmore of Survivor and all of these components. I can't imagine anyone would be on that jury and go, yeah, no, I'm not going to vote for Suri.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't see that happening. So that's a very scary game for Christian to be playing, but we'll see what happens if it
Right.
happens.
Now, another thing she mentioned in interviews was learning that she needs to be able to work with her enemies. And, someone may come after her in a vote, but she thinks she can now turn that around, agree to put it behind them, and move forward. And I
Hmm.
feel like this is a very new era way of thinking, and something we saw quite a bit of just last season, where
Yeah.
we were trying to figure out who is actually aligned with who. Well, you had these alliances that sometimes worked together and sometimes didn't, and sometimes lied to each
Mhm.
other and sometimes did. And they were slapping each other on the back afterwards most of the time. And
Yeah.
so it's like, um,
I
but
think for Sari, though, it's probably going to be an easier thing for her to start doing or to be able to
Mhm.
do considering all of the other shows that she's also been
Right,
a part of.
right.
She has had so many opportunities to participate in different types of strategic games that are more recent than necessarily her survivor games. So I do think that she is someone who is going to be able to figure that out quickly and know how to add it into her social game, which she's already so spectacular at.
Mhm.
I don't think it's going to be a difficult thing for her to kind of maneuver through and work through, considering all of the experience she's had in all of the various. I mean, I know Survivor Australia was very recent,
Mhm.
much different type of structure. But I do think that with the other games that she's done like 3 other
Yeah.
reality TV
Yeah.
programs. So I think she's going to be in a good place to figure that out quickly.
Yeah. Now you mentioned, how easy it is to point at a winner and say, okay, we want to get rid of them. And yeah, she is not eager to work with Savannah on her starting tribe there.
Mhm.
And she said, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know, which is, she's not the only one to say that.
Yes.
However, she does think she may be able to get along with and make use of Joe, and, maybe even getting him to take care of her. So that's some of her thoughts on a few of the other people there.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
think that Joe is someone who she's not going to have to worry about from a strategic
right. Well,
standpoint, right?
nobody has to worry about Joe from a strategic.
Right. So really, if
Spoiler to
you
what
look,
we're going to talk about when we get to Joe and a couple people here.
spoiler, but I do think that, again, with Savannah, the difference with someone like Savannah is, yes, she doesn't know what Savannah's capabilities are,
Right.
but she knows what Joe's capabilities are, and she's seen how Joe approaches the game.
Mhm.
And I think the type of person that she is, that she and Joe are probably going to mesh, just because he's just like this loyal, lovable, like kind of teddy bear, if you will. And she is going to be able to utilize that to her
Mhm.
benefit for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can move on to Emily. And
Look at that.
yes.
Didn't you have a burger? No, you had a burger with something. That was,
Yeah.
never mind.
Liz.
That was,
Liz,
yeah, Liz. You had the burger with
who was
Liz.
not invited back. But
That
and I'm pissed. Um,
was good. That was
yeah.
very good. This is great. I love these photos. This is lovely.
Now, Emily told everyone who asked, including me when I met her here in Chicago, that she would never return. And here she
Mm-hmm.
is. She's saying that even she thought, she wasn't lying. This was her actual thought process. So in the meantime, she's been playing quite a bit of online reality games like Blood on the Clock Tower, making friends with people like Christian through
Mm-hmm.
that. And it's funny because she kept telling Mike Bloom, I mean, she said it in her preseason for her first time, but she's still saying it, that she's a terrible liar. But
Mm.
Christian told Mike that while Emily is a friend, quote, she's an excellent liar. I have a hard time telling if she lies.
Mm.
So I don't know if she just still really thinks she's a bad liar or what, but
Maybe
people who
she's
play
lying
in,
about being a bad liar.
there you go.
There.
Um,
See?
But Christian thinks she will need allies early on, so maybe they could pull her into this alliance as well. Though she also sees Rick as problematic for the same reasons that Siri mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
saying, we were sitting day one. We just got to Ponderosa. We're just coming down. We're sitting in our tables. Nobody's saying anything. He pulls out photos of his family, and he's holding them up, flipping through photos of his family. And I'm like, man, you saw them 48 hours ago. You didn't miss them that much. And also, we know you have a family. You have a private place to go and look at photos. What is that? It just
Yeah.
strikes me as like, okay, he's already playing the game, and that just annoys me.
I do very much appreciate Emily's
Yes.
honesty.
Bluntness. Yes.
She certainly, but she did say that she's going to try to rein that in a little bit this
Yes.
time, that she's not necessarily going to be so quick to assert herself. But there is that component of Emily that everyone knows exists. They all know that she did that, but then they also know that she kind of changed as her season progressed and became a less likely to judge people in that same manner. What Emily we will get at this point, or at this for season 50, I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
she does seem to still be judging people.
But
So
she also said one of her big mistakes was being too close minded and failing to be flexible. So let's hear it for
mhm.
rule 3. She
Yes.
wants to align with people on the outs. So, maybe she won't immediately be against the idea of working with Devons once they're out there, especially if it's in a larger group which, of
Yes.
course, tribes of 8 allow for a larger group. You don't only have to make a group of 4.
I know. I'm trying really hard to, like, get behind the idea that, okay, so it's 8 instead of 6, and I can
Yes.
appreciate that, but it's still tribes of 3, and I feel like they could have so much havoc
Oh, yes.
could have been created if they had just divided them in half and been
Yeah.
like, "Here's 12 and 12. Have at it. Let's see what's gonna happen." But I'll take 8 instead of 6.
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
do that. That'll be fine.
yeah. Now I
Not that
do like.
anyone's listening to me anyway, so.
I am. Our
Oh, well, I
listeners
appreciate
are.
that. Thank you. Well,
Um,
that's great.
I
Thank you,
do like.
listeners.
I like that Emily showed her smarts in discussing the Savannah and Rizzo situation. She told Mike Bloom, I would probably be casting two people that hated each other or two people who worked really closely together on
Mhm.
49. And right
Yeah.
now, the two 49ers are sitting very far apart from each other at Ponderosa. They're not interacting with each other at all, which is exactly what I would do if we were actually very close and we wanted to pretend like we weren't. So that makes me think they probably work together. So she hit that nail on the head.
She did. But I do take some issue with her treatment of Jenna, I must say.
Uh-oh, what'd she
Not
say about Jenna? Oh,
that
she's inconsequential or
she's
irrelevant?
irrelevant.
Irrelevant, yes.
When they asked her about Jenna, she says, "Who? Wait, what? How do you not know who Jenna Lewis is? She was on Borneo, for God's sakes, like the season that started all of Survivor." And I was stunned. I was stunned. And I was a little hurt for Jenna at that point in time because they are on the same tribe. So this will be certainly there will be no fangirling by
Yeah,
Emily over Jenna because I do see that that could be an issue for some of these players who are like, oh my gosh, like that person, like we were talking about Siri, right? That there could be some fangirling going on. I would be fangirling if I was on a tribe with Jenna Lewis and just be like, oh my gosh, that's Jenna Lewis. I want to know everything about Borneo. Please tell me everything. And I do believe that one of the players was actually talking about how, I think it
yes.
was Chrissy, how she's like, I want 24 hours just
Right.
with Jenna so I can talk with her. So I truly appreciate that sentiment. So I was a little taken aback by the irrelevant comment about Jenna Lewis, I will
Well,
say.
we can move into talking about Jenna now.
Yes,
She is
please.
she is only 47, which considering she was on season 1, that is pretty darn young.
Right? I
Um,
was she's my age. Come
like
on.
I said, pretty darn young.
I know.
Uh,
I could
and
have been on Borneo. I could have been putting Eminem in a pool. What? That blew my mind. She pushed Eminem into a pool or pulled him into a pool.
yeah,
Jenna, I love you. This
yeah.
is just amazing. This is good stuff. Anyway.
It is great to see her back and full of confidence in herself and the game she intends to play.
Mm.
In fact, I'm afraid I would go so far as to call it overconfidence, and
Oh,
that
oh, yeah,
worries
I'm
me
with you.
for her.
Yes, yes.
Because she said in her official pregame interview, I impart my own will on people for a living. I have to make clients like me, trust me, and want to work with me. My job is perfect preparation for the dynamics of this game. And then she just ran with it from there in her other interviews because, like, she talked about how she was running All Stars, which maybe we know there's an edit, maybe, but I've
Mm-hmm.
seen some other players comment, no, that wasn't the way it happened. And she thinks that she can bend people to do whatever she wants, as she suggested in that reference to her job. Her interviews were full of her saying, this person will be in a mother-son relationship with me.
Yeah.
I will use this person as a lackey. And it's like, Jenna, they're not game pieces. They do have minds of their own. And
Yes.
like, I'm sorry, I don't see Christian becoming your lackey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Confidence, good. Overconfidence, very dangerous.
And I do think that Jenna could have come into this season and maybe she will try to pretend to be like out of her element. And I don't really, this is a new game, new era, not the game
Mhm.
I played, even in All Stars. This is so different. I need help. Like, I feel like it would be better for her to be seeking help and still trying to do behind the scenes, planting little seeds, as opposed to coming in like really like hard and fast and like I'm going to take control and I'm going to do these things. Maybe she won't. Maybe she will
I
come in and just kind of let things happen, but
yeah,
it's
I
she seems very, very confident going
I
into it.
I don't think she will because I think in some ways, and this is just me judging from the interviews, I think she still feels burned that she was running All Stars and the edit definitely did not show that. Whether she was
Oh,
or she wasn't, what matters
interesting.
right here is what's in her head.
Yeah.
And so the last thing she wants to come in and do is put on a false persona of I need help, and worry that production will show her that way.
Oh, that's fascinating. Oh,
And
that's very
so
interesting.
I
Yeah.
think she wants to come in and visibly take charge. And I
Mm,
think
mm-hmm.
that she's worried about that aspect of things. Now
Yeah.
she yeah, she did say some other good things in her interviews, like noting most people won't remember her game,
That she's
especially
irrelevant, apparently.
yes, especially since she disagrees quite a bit with the edit she got in All Stars. She knows her reputation is loud and annoying, and well, she is. She says, "I just have to shut my damn mouth." But this was her saying she is, not just
Sure.
not me.
You're just
Uh,
quoting. You're just
yeah.
quoting.
The question is, can she? Because she admits she's bad at shutting her mouth.
Yeah.
And that's just one question that came up because she also talked about how she needs to keep secrets, which she's also bad at, and understand how she's being perceived by others, which she's also bad at. So she's clearly thought it through. She understands the game, but as she essentially said in these answers, there's a difference between understanding and doing. Because
Yeah.
for 3 of the different items she mentioned for her plan, she's acknowledged she's bad at it.
But and this also brings up another thing in regards to what you just said, how we were discussing whether or not she'll come in and be like, I need help. She brought a CD player with her to
Mm.
Ponderosa, and
Mhm.
she's been like making Afghans or something. I just knitting or
Yeah.
something along those lines because she's trying to make herself seem
Embroidery,
like
yes.
embroidery. Thank you. That she isn't as capable. So there does seem to be a lot of conflicting information that we are
Yeah,
receiving
I
from
mean,
her.
that's the pregame. I think once she gets into the game, it will change, but
But if that's what the perception you want people to have of you going in,
right,
then I don't think that the plan will be, "I'm gonna necessarily take over." However, she's presenting that she wants to. So this is
right.
it's very conflicting. Everything is
Yes,
very conflicting. But
yes.
also a CD player, that's not gonna I just too much. It's too much. Just she could have brought an iPod. It would have been fine. Nobody would have cared. I was just thinking packing, like you have to how many CDs
I
did
mean,
you
yeah,
bring?
she's 47.
Right, like, you're not an old
47-year-old.
lady.
Yeah,
You
it's
can
yeah,
use an
exactly.
iPod, it's
She
fine,
should
it's fine.
why didn't she dye her hair gray while she was at it, and
Right,
walk
like, I
around
mean,
with a
come on.
cane, and
I haven't used a CD player since I was in, like, high school,
yeah.
okay? And I'm the
I mean,
same age, so it's fine.
I'm
You can have a Bluetooth, you can have iPods,
yeah.
you can have all of those things. It's
I'm
fine.
10 years older, and yes, I never had an iPod. I had a Sansa something or other digital thing. All my music is right here on my phone. I mean, yeah, it's you don't need to go quite that overboard there
Yeah, I
and
feel like
pretend you're
that is
80.
overboard. Yes,
You
I
know,
feel like that is she brings, like, a vinyl, like,
yeah.
it's a record player, like, come on. A little bit too much there.
Let me crank
I
it up here, Sonny. Hold on. I gotta crank the Victrola.
I do think that yes, if you want to be perceived a particular way, you can certainly do things to present yourself in that way. But some of it's just going to come across as not what you're hoping for. Like I would think that someone's going to look at that and go, "Boy, she's trying too hard." Like
Yeah.
she's literally trying too hard. So, but I still love you, Jenna, and I would
Yeah.
love to spend 24 hours with you and talk to you about everything Borneo related. So, just so you know.
Uh, Now, there are several areas where I think she'll do well in relation to my rules. She talked about needing to be flexible, also
Mhm.
making friends and then slitting their throats, which is good Rule 4 advice. She
Mhm.
wants to follow Rule 6 by making herself a smaller target in a season full of really big ones.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
and she can follow Rule 5 by making people like her, quote, at least for short periods of time.
I
Um,
do think that that's something that she should lean into is that idea of who are the bigger targets because
yes,
she's not going to be
right.
perceived as one of those bigger targets,
Mhm.
which I think is certainly going to bode well for her in this particular season when there are those people you can highlight and she is not one of those people. So I do think that that's going to work well for her.
Yeah. Now, a few other things Jenna said caught my eye, including her telling Mike Bloom, everyone's like, oh, this new fast game. You're not even going to be prepared. I wasn't for the first one. Nobody knew what Survivor was going to be. We had no
Mm,
clue. We had to go out and play. Now, I would argue that her tribe didn't exactly do a good job of adapting to the game at that point, but um, She continued, and then I came back for the first time they ever brought people that knew each other back, and I had to learn those social dynamics. This is all going to break down to how quickly can I make you like me and then slit your throat? How well can I lie to you and get you to believe me? Plus, I loved what she had to say about Joe, because she told Mike Bloom, you have people who come out here, and I don't know why, but they want to play by being noble. They want to tell you, I didn't lie to anyone. Please, we are all here to lie. Don't tell me you didn't lie to anyone. You lied to everybody you helped me blindside. Just because you didn't lie to me yet, I'm supposed to believe that you don't want to lie. But I have a plan that you use the people who want to be noble to vote out the people who are chaos. Then you can always get the noble people out because they're noble. They're like, I want to be fair. Nothing's in Survivor is fair. And she added to Dalton Ross, I'm not into that whole integrity and nobility because I'm not here to play with integrity. I am here to F you over in every way, shape, or form. So I'm just like, hell yeah,
Yes.
Jenna.
Yeah, that's going to be some chaotic stuff to watch happening. But I do think though that she's another one. Like Siri can lull Joe in. I think Jenna's going to be able to do the same thing. And Joe is just going to be so Joe about it that he's not even going to realize that it's happening, and that, oh, they all want to play this game with me, and Siri and Jenna are just going to be eating it up and loving every second of it, and he is not going to understand that this is what they're doing to him.
Now, speaking of Siri, she doesn't trust her and
I
wonders
know.
why people keep letting her get far in the game.
She's the one who's like, she's got to go first, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But she also still wants, remember, she was the anti-winner queen,
Yes.
on All Stars, and she still wants the winners to go out first. So that doesn't bode well for Savannah there.
Yeah, things are not looking good for Savannah. I'm just throwing that out there
No.
early. I know we're going to get to her, but
well, I will throw it out there later, perhaps. Spoiler
yes.
alert.
Yes.
All right. Well, we can move on to Joe, who we were just talking about.
Joe.
And he is still Joe. And it annoys me a lot. Mainly, it annoyed me so much that I've made one video so far as of this recording specifically about the pregame interviews, and it was about Joe.
Oh, goodness.
Mainly because he plans to play essentially the same damn way and has learned almost nothing. He quote, hopes real relationships, loyalty, and being authentic will get me to the end. At the end of the day, all I can be is the real me. No, you can try to be something else. Like, I don't know, a good player.
Well, right? Like, I made it to the Super Bowl. I just didn't win. So why should I change everything? I can still make it to the Super Bowl, but then you're not going to win again.
Well, and that's exactly it. This is the worst part. This is what I made the video about. He said he doesn't know why he lost. And, quote, I think that's going to be a question that's going to take me a long time to figure out. He added, you didn't get a printout of your mistakes. Okay, here's the exact list. Do these differently. Yes, Joe, you did. We did the Why Kyle Won and the Others Lost podcast. Joe, you were one of the others who lost. We talked about you. We discussed the various things you did wrong. I know it was a fairly quick turnaround between when the finale aired and when they headed out for 50. And he could have listened and taken notes. He could have even gone so far as to reading my rules that, oh my gosh, list the things to do and not do. Just like he said he wanted. But he didn't do any of these things.
Well, and I have, not that I want to defend him. I do like Joe he's just a great person, and I feel like he would be a great person to have in your life. But as a Survivor player, he's missing that extra thing that he needs. And I really do think that part of his problem was the edit he received. He received this incredible edit from, just he was loved by all. He was doing all of these. Even he talked about it. He goes, everyone was talking about how I needed to be voted out, and everyone was talking about how I was such a threat, and everyone kept talking about Joe. And then I get to the end, and I don't get any votes.
No.
Right. And so I do think that there's a lot to be said about how the edit represented him, because it did show you who genuinely he was as a person, but it made you think he was that much better of a Survivor player, but the two didn't meld together. You can be a good person and you can play Survivor as a good person, but that doesn't mean you're a good Survivor player.
Right.
And I really think that that's part of Joe's problem, is that he didn't see himself in a bad light because he was being shown so incredibly well on TV that of course he's going to be like, "Well, what did I do wrong then? Look at
Right.
me. I was great. They loved me and everyone thought I was a threat." But then I didn't win. Isn't that weird? It's so weird.
Mm, yes. Yeah. Like I said, I have a podcast I could recommend. Um,
Oh,
now, I will
goodness.
say Joe seems to at least have learned one thing. He appears to realize other people value having an ally they can trust. So he can still
Mm.
play that way just by picking the right people and not throwing it in everyone's faces. That's a
Oh,
good start right there.
yeah.
Uh, he's right
Don't
about
make
that.
bracelets. Don't make bracelets. Please don't make
Yeah.
bracelets.
Well, he didn't make the bracelet. He just accepted the bracelet.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't accept a bracelet.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's right. People do want an ally they can trust completely. You know why they want that? Because that way they can use them as a number without worrying that they'll flip and then get rid of them when they don't need them anymore. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like we have made fun of this in pregame interviews before, where Mike or Dalton will say, "What do you value? What would you value in an ally?" And they'll be like, "Well, I want someone, theoretically, hypothetically, I want someone who will trust me completely and never backstab
Mm.
me." That's Joe. That is
Yeah,
Joe.
that is
He
Joe.
is this theoretical person because he would be easy to control, manipulate, and then get rid of.
Yeah,
Now,
I see that happening.
yeah, if Joe were willing to learn from his mistakes and change the way he plays to make use of the image he has, I would be applauding.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very clear to me that is just not happening.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely am concerned that he is going to be just kind of rolled over by so many people in this particular tribe that he finds himself
Yes.
on, that he will certainly be revered for his strength and his ability to provide, but I do think that he will be taken advantage of because there is that
Mm-hmm.
softness about him where he wants to be that loyal person to whomever he ends up coming together with. So I think there's going to probably be a very like quick draw to him as well, that you will see people going
Mm-hmm.
to him and wanting to glom onto him immediately and promising him like, "Oh, I can be your Eva. Let me be your Eva." Because they know it will benefit them because
Yep.
he will do the same exact thing. There's no question. And I do not think that he is prepped enough on the other players to
Mm-hmm.
truly understand
Oh
their
no,
capabilities
I guarantee
at
you,
all.
he's not at all prepped enough on them. No.
One of the funniest things I saw was all of the commentary with his interview with Mike Bloom and Friend or Foe, and it was just everything. Friend,
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 friend, friend,
friend,
friend.
friend, friend. Everyone was a friend.
Yes.
Everyone was a
Except Camilla.
friend. Yes, except Camilla, but everyone else was a friend.
Even Kyle
Uh,
was a friend. Kyle did the
yes,
same damn thing Camilla did. It's
yes,
and won. But yeah.
a friend. Even though they pantsed him on TV, friend.
Right, right.
But yes, this is Joe. This is Joe.
Yes, yes. And we could move on from Joe to someone who may have seemed similar to him in the early goings.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be Aussie.
Yes. Look
Uh
at you.
yes. So uh and but Joe said he won't change. Ozzy, for many years, did not change, but now
Mm-hmm.
says he's going to.
Yeah.
He said in interviews
That
that
must have made you happy.
pardon?
That must have made you happy.
Yes, very. For me, I thought you said that doesn't make you happy. I
No,
was like,
that
what?
does
No, it
make you
does.
happy.
Um,
Yes.
because he said in interviews that relying on providing food and winning challenges is a quote failing and quote stupid game strategy. So yes, let's hear it for Ozzy. All right.
Nice job, Ozzy. Good job.
He said it almost worked, which is something his fans sometimes point out to me. But what does almost get you? It doesn't get you the win.
Right,
And
right, right.
and I'm glad he sees that now. He told Mike Bloom the only way to win this game is by developing really deep relationships and strong alliances built on trust. But he also said he won't be afraid to stab them in the back if need be.
Mm-hmm. And I think Aussie is going to be another one of those people that is coming in with a very like real perception of him. People have seen him
Mm-hmm.
play the game so many times. They've seen, the Jungle Boy, as he was being referred to by so many of the players, and so I think that that's going to potentially work to his benefit, but could also work to his detriment because there are preconceived notions of how he's going to play this game. And depending on how he approaches those preconceived notions, he could use it to his benefit for sure. If that's what they believe he's only going to be doing is providing, taking care of, not necessarily being strategic. But if he's able to pull all of that off and shift into a strategic game mindset, which we've discussed with Joe, we're not going to be seeing, then I do think that he is going to be in a very good place because they're going to want to keep him around if he's
Right.
still able to compete the way that he used to and provide the way that he used to. But then if he is also adding strategy and if he and Siri get together, oh my gosh, forget about it. Like it's
Right.
going to be beautiful. It'll be absolutely beautiful. If they can become best friends, please let's make that happen. I would love to see that happen.
Yeah. Now I have to say, here's the thing. Every single time I have ever interviewed Ozzy, he said similar things to
Oh
what he's
no.
saying now.
Oh
He didn't admit
no.
he didn't admit it was a failing strategy. He didn't admit it was stupid, but he said he needed to do more strategizing and less fishing. Those were things he would often say. And
Mm.
then he went out there and he reverted back to form.
He did fishing and not
Yeah,
strategizing.
I really
Mm.
do want to believe there's a good chance he follows through with it this time. So I'm
Yeah.
going to go in believing that. Despite all past evidence, I am going to believe it. I think he really means it now.
Well, and here's the other part of it too. He's older, he's wiser, he's done
Yes.
some things in his life, and he might just be at a
Yes,
point
he
where it's
has.
like, oh yeah, yes, which shocking that CBS was like, yes, please. But regardless,
Yeah.
to each their own. And but I think that he's looking at this like this is it for me. Like I'm not getting another shot to come out here and do this
Right.
again. Like this is season 50 and I've done this so many times already. Was it 4 times that he's played?
Yes.
So throw it all to and just try anything at this point because you are Aussie. Everybody knows you. I mean, and he did say he's going to be Oscar, which I forgot his name was Oscar. I had completely forgotten that he
Hopefully he won't
created
be a
this.
grouch.
No, I hope not. But he created this persona of who Ozzy was. So I really think that he could just come in and he
Mhm.
could play this game completely differently because this is his fifth time and this is it. Like this is it. And I think he realizes that this is it's
Yes.
go big or go home and not come back, right?
Yes. Yeah, you mentioned, that he wanted. Well, Suri wants to get together with him. He wants to get together with Suri. He thinks they'll work well because he can make inroads with some of the physical people, and she can
Mhm.
make inroads with the strategic players. Plus, he also thinks Christian will be a good guy and play with him. And so that all goes along with what I was saying earlier regarding the possibility of an alliance there.
Yeah.
But hey, guess whose name came up as someone who needs to worry? That would be Savannah, because he
Mm.
said if anyone lets another Sandra situation happen like that, it would just be shame on us.
Yes, I do think that everyone is going to be feeling that way about this
Hmm.
season. There will not be a winner in that final 3. My
Yes,
humble
I agree.
opinion.
I agree.
I'm jumping ahead, I'm so sorry.
Now you're okay. All right, we can move on to Rick Devens. I don't know if we're calling him Rick or Devens this season. It's very confusing to me.
I
Uh,
don't know.
he is the only player this season who has appeared on this podcast so far. I would
Yes.
expect at least a couple others to do so in the future, but for now, just Rick. So, of course, we're rooting for him.
Yes.
I should have popped up a
He
picture. That
was
should have
my
been the
winner
picture.
pick.
Yeah, that should have been the picture I popped up of the three of us.
Oh, that would have been a
That
good
didn't
idea,
occur
yeah.
to me. Um, I I expect. Well, despite wanting him to win and rooting for him, I'm worried because
Mm-hmm.
I've already mentioned this, you've already mentioned this, some players just think he's doing too much.
Too much, too
And
soon, too quick. Yes.
yeah,
For sure.
and,
Yeah.
for his part, he wants to move away from winning challenges and finding idols to show he has a strong social strategic game. And, well, I guess not so much move away, but add to it. And he
Mm-hmm.
knows he'll need to be careful searching for advantages, as he specifically mentioned how he doesn't want to be Tony in his second time playing. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
he hopes people remembered he had a very loyal game the first time. I don't know that people will remember that. I rewatched
Yeah.
his season recently. I don't remember that. I remember he did eventually get back together with them, but
Yeah.
I more remember how pissed he was at War Dog
Yes.
when he came back
Yes.
into the game and War Dog was like, "Oh, we want you to join that," and he just Devon's had this awesome sarcastic response like,
Yes.
"Oh yes, I would love to do that, except there's no way I want to do that." You
Right.
know,
Yes.
um,
Yeah. I think that his season was so different than most because it was Edge of Extinction. And
mm,
so he was dealing with a different type of gameplay because he did get voted out and then had
right.
to win his way back into the game. And this is not something that is a normal
No, he
survivor.
can join up with Ozzy. That happened with Ozzy too.
Well, right, but it is something that
Yes,
is not common
yes,
in the survivor world, and so I do think that that put him in a different headspace because getting voted out is certainly going to be it's going to make you bitter. And
yeah,
then because you're going to look at the people that voted you out and go, "Why would I want to play with you? You already voted me out once." And
right,
so his response to that makes perfect sense. So I agree. I don't think anyone is going to be looking at him and going, "Oh, he was so loyal." He was not a Joe at all.
right.
He had a very incredible game because he did everything. He won challenges, he found idols, he played them successfully, saved other people. He did all of the won his way back into the
Hmm.
game. I mean, he did things that really put him at the forefront as far as being a survivor player in all of these areas and being a strategist and doing these things that I feel like now maybe he's trying too hard to minimize that and just being like, "Oh, look, I'm just a dad and I'm a really nice person and I want you to see me that way as just funny, jovial, like kind soul." No one's going to forget who Rick Devens was because
Hmm.
he had such an
Right.
amazing survivor journey. I don't think he's going to be able to surpass that by having photos of his family and wearing like number one dad on a t-shirt at Ponderosa. I just don't think that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, there are some people who want to play with him, like Christian,
Mhm.
but so many people mentioned, he's going to need to work really hard as soon as
Yeah.
the game begins to overcome the pre-game notions of him. I feel like he's walking a tightrope,
Yeah.
and he could be out first, or he could make it deep, and it just depends on how the wind blows.
Mhm.
Can he get in with what I believe will be the Siri Christian Ozzy group? And
Mhm.
maybe target Savannah right away? Or will Savannah pull something off to turn people against him? I don't know.
Yeah. I think between the two of them that we'll talk about Savannah.
Yes. Well,
Next,
let's
right?
talk about Savannah. Yes.
Okay.
She is in this position where people don't know her or her game. Some have surmised she's won. And I think they're being a little coy in the way they talk about it because, like, someone in one of the later interviews, I think in the next tribe we'll be discussing, said something like, I jumped online and I looked, and yes, there was already chatter like on Reddit that she had won.
Mm.
So, or chatter somewhere. Anyway, I don't know if it was on Reddit, but um, so yes, the word had spread that she won.
Yes.
And but she knows this already. So because she knows that they know, she's not going to come in and lie, which is good because
Mm.
if she tried to
Mhm.
lie, she'd be cooked before her game even
Right,
began.
right. Mhm.
Even so, she said in her CBS interview that people fear the unknown and she may already have a target. And based on what we've heard, yeah, she's absolutely right. In
Mhm.
Mike's friend or foe questions, four of the other players on this tribe called her a foe.
Yes.
One called her a frenemy, and one is 50-50.
Yeah.
I
That
mean, I
doesn't
think
bode well.
No, I think the only one who labeled her as a potential friend was Jenna. That was it.
Mm, mm-hmm.
But that makes no sense because Jenna wants to target the winners. So,
Right.
how did you label her a friend then?
Yeah, maybe she
Things,
just doesn't realize that she
right?
is the winner.
Yeah,
But
things are
yes.
not looking good for Savannah.
The only thing that will be Savannah's like saving grace is her ability to do well in challenges. And I can see that being a potential concern. Siri, I love her to death, but she's never been a challenge beast at all.
What?
Savannah
How can you
is.
say that?
I so so I'm curious if that's going to become part of a focal point for people like an Aussie or a Joe, where they're like, "Hey, we need to win challenges so we don't go to tribal," and that might tip the scales and keep her around a little bit longer. But I do think that she is going to be in
But
a
then who
very
do you vote out at that point?
well, and that's what
Emily?
I'm
Jenna?
I'm looking at
I
an
mean,
Emily, Jenna, and if Rick is rubbing everybody the wrong way, I mean Rick did well in challenges. I
yeah,
don't know necessarily how significant that is going to
right,
necessarily be opposed to, well, she's a winner, so who cares,
right.
that might just win the day, where they're like, we don't want her to get her footing, she needs to go regardless, even if she's good at challenges, we've
Hmm.
got time, we have options, because even if we do see this Aussie, Suri, Christian kind of thing coming together, they're going to need to bring other individuals in. They could grab Joe, as we've already discussed, and they can
Hmm.
certainly grab a Rick Devens if they really wanted to. Well, then you're looking at Savannah, Emily, and Jenna, and
Right.
those are then going to be your options. So they would have time to get rid of her if they needed to. But it again depends on if they are like, no, she's a winner. She just has to go. We're not going to be in that
Well,
boat. And Ozzy,
yeah.
I hope, doesn't lose sight of what he needs to do, because he
Yes.
got a little bit mm, oogly, googly eyes, whatever you want to call them over her. So you better just do the right thing.
Yeah. And, another thing is Savannah said she wants Sari to be voted out immediately.
Yes.
So, all those other people are your foes. I'm your foe now as well, Savannah. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, if she starts dropping that into some people's ears who are working with Sari, then I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that will go over very well.
I agree. I think that there will be more. Again, so many people said it. You've already mentioned it. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. And if she starts hinting that Serene needs to go, she is going to infuriate people immediately. And if someone like Ozzy hears that,
Hmm.
he is going to take that personally, not necessarily for Sari, but for himself, because he's also one of those players that's played multiple times and has that air about him, as someone who's a returnee, who's been here a lot, who is probably a big target. So I think someone like Ozzy is going to take that personal and is not going to be interested in keeping Savannah around if she starts dropping hints that Suri's got to go.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's get to our tribal prediction here. And we've
Oh, we're
already,
doing that now? I thought we were doing that
yes,
next time.
no, just the tribal prediction, how
Oh,
we think,
goodness.
but I think we've mostly just been discussing it because,
I know we
you know,
kind of have.
yeah, it really does look like there's a potential for a Christian Suri Ozzy alliance. And I was thinking they could pull in Devens and Emily. You said Devens and Joe. But no matter what, that's a majority for at least that first vote, especially if
Sure.
they decide to target Savannah. I think that's an easy one to get everybody on board for.
I
So,
agree. I agree.
I mean, that's my prediction is that is the first person out.
I agree, because I do think that Jenna will jump on that vote as well. So it's just one more person, because if there is this idea that she's the winner, there's no
Hmm.
convincing Jenna then. Jenna will be like, "Yep, I'm there. I will definitely." I think between the two of them, Jenna, as we've already talked about, she's not the top of the totem pole here. She's not the biggest target. She's
Right.
not someone people are going to be worried about. So I do think that that between the two of them, it would certainly be an easy sell to get Jenna to vote for Savannah as well. So I agree. I think Savannah is going to be in a very difficult spot to find her way into this tribe for a very long time.
Yeah. So yes, I think she'll go from first place to first out. Uh, as far as people who will go far, I do think Siri has it in her again. I
Hmm.
can't imagine her winning. Well, okay, I can imagine it. I just don't think
It
the
would be
others should allow it.
awesome.
Yes,
Right.
but she should last a while. Ozzy and Joe may as well for different reasons, and
Hmm.
Christian as also again for a different reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all of those, all of what you've said, I think makes a lot of sense. I do think that there is some potential like personality conflicts we might end up seeing between like an Emily and a Jenna. So
Mhm.
that could cause some issues down the road. But I agree with your assessment as well.
Okay.
With and I gosh, I hope that Suri and Ozzy become best friends. I really do. I would love that.
All right, then we can move on to the Kalo tribe. And it's interesting for this tribe because while Cila had a lot, I mentioned this earlier, had a lot of overlapping thoughts on people working with each other. I did not see that as much here. Uh,
Yes, I agree. I agree. Hmm.
so yeah, we start with Charlie. And he joked to Mike Bloom that he can't lie and say he's not a lawyer. But let's face it, that is not the scariest thing about him. Most
Oh
people
no.
know he should have won his season. Sorry, no shade to Kenzie, but uh,
Mm-hmm.
so they may treat him almost like one of the winners. It's like the worst of both worlds. You didn't get the $1 million, but you still have people very worried about you. It's like when Aubrey
Yes.
came back the first time. It was the
Mhm.
same sort of thing.
Yeah.
But he also told Mike Bloom, everybody here has made final tribal council or fourth place or something really, really close to winning. So it's
Mhm.
not like that is setting me leagues above the rest of the field. I think he could be underestimating the impact it has, or at least could have, depending on who's doing the storytelling.
Mm.
And it also occurs to me, we won't have to talk at all this season about people hiding what they do for a living. So,
Yeah.
yay, it's a topic we don't have that we normally talk about. We don't
We
have
won't
to,
have to. No,
which
we won't have to.
it really just goes to show someone's job, it's a lot less important when you've actually seen them play.
Yes. Yes, and I do think someone like Charlie is going to find himself in a tough spot because of the things that you've just discussed. Everyone who talked about Charlie had this idea of Charlie as he's almost like too perfect, right? Like he is the he's normal, which is fascinating that that is a thing that sets you apart from survivor players when you are just normal, and he seems very smart. He's like likable. He's someone that you notice. He's confident. There's all of these things about Charlie that everyone has talked about, and they've all just been like, ah, that guy, he's, yeah, I think he's got to go. He unfortunately finds himself, and I say unfortunately, but when you were just talking about
Mhm.
narratives and how people are going to be perceived, with a Mike White. So Mike
Yes.
White, who also almost, like he made it to the end and did exceptionally well and could have won his season. He is going to throw Charlie, I think, way under the bus
Oh,
as far as like,
okay.
how he should be perceived. I could see that being a concern for a lot of people, just because Charlie is he's that guy. He's
If I
that
were Mike
person that
White, I would not be bringing up Charlie. Yeah, we want to get rid of the guy who should have won, and everybody.
oh, well, no, I don't
Stop
think he
looking at
will
me.
do that.
Don't look at me. Look at the other
Right.
guy who should have won
But I
his
don't think he
season.
will do it in that way. I
Yeah.
think Mike will do it in a different way where it's just like he can build Charlie up. It's like, look at Charlie. Like he's just
Mhm.
so impressive. Like he's just such an impressive human being. It's not going to be about him almost winning. It's going to be about him his how impressive he is just as a person. And I think that that's what Mike White will focus on, because that seems to be what so many people are focused on. Yes, he did almost win. However, they're like, God, just look at him when he's in a room. It's like they just he people notice him, and you kind of and you just have this respect for him.
I don't know.
And I just
He's the only one whose cast picture is not smiling. He's like, mm.
it
Like
is a
he
great picture
it
though. Oh
is, but
my
he
god.
looks mad, you
Oh, I
know?
love his picture. I
Yeah.
love he's like it's like a GQ kind of thing. I love it. I think it's great. But yeah, so I do think that this is a different Charlie than I think when Charlie was starting the season that he almost won or should have won, however you want to describe it, that was a different Charlie. That was a younger, like more immature, kind of unknown, unsure of himself. This Charlie, he's completely sure of himself, and it is coming across in so many ways in Ponderosa and with his gameplay that people have already seen. So yeah, I do think that Charlie is going to be one that people will be focusing on early on in this game.
Yeah, now he hopes that people mostly remember he was a smart player and a good ally, at least for most of the game. But he also told Mike Bloom he wants to work with a strong ally as a duo again. And he
Mhm.
knows it may be tricky, especially if his ally is someone who has other allies or friends on the other tribes when they get to the merge, but that's still his plan.
Yeah.
Now, an interesting thing Charlie told Mike that I don't remember this coming out of the interviews Mike did after his season, but they mentioned that it did, was that he had understated his final tribal council performance so as not to come across as cocky. And now he knows, quote, you can't leave so much work for the final tribal council. You've got to give something beforehand, something to let people ruminate on and think about and get you
Mhm.
in their heads and in their mouths to other jurors in a good way before final tribal council. Because as much as all the jurors are like, my mind is totally not made up, I could vote for
Mhm.
anyone tonight, that's BS. That's such BS. Yes,
Mhm.
you could change people's minds at final tribal, but people have an idea of who they're going to vote for when they come in. You have to do a little work for yourself before you get there. And this is really great thinking on his part. It's something we talk about. It is something that
Mm.
is in Appendix B,
Yeah.
and I may be adding this quote to highlight it even more so in
Mhm.
Appendix B. And it goes along with the narrative spinning that we discussed for Christian. You've got to
Yeah.
get people thinking this. They are not going to turn on a dime. It is very
Mhm.
rare, unless you really have a surprise moment,
Right.
like I pulled the wool over everyone's eyes.
Right. Right.
You need to get this planted in their heads.
And currently planted in everyone's heads is how amazing Charlie is
Right. Well,
and how great he did in the season that he almost won or should have won.
mhm.
So, yes, the narrative that he's walking in with is going to be a hard one for him to set aside and not have people focus on.
Yeah. Now, there are people in his tribe that he hopes to work with, including Chrissy. And he didn't even mention her as a fellow robbed player.
Oh,
Uh,
I know. I know.
there's Jonathan for obvious reasons until it's time to get rid of him. Dee, because he's closer with her outside the game. And
Mhm.
Tiffany, because she's very close. He's very close with her from them being on the same season, even though he did vote her out and she didn't vote for him to win. Uh,
Right.
he's worried about Camila because he was thinking, like, how much can you trust? Let's say you make a really close alliance with her. If it only
Mhm.
takes her 10 seconds to run off and make
Yeah.
different plans somewhere else,
Mhm.
uh, that's worrisome to him.
Yes. But
So,
also, if he's looking for a duo, I
mhm,
mean, she's shown how incredible
right,
she can as being the other half of a duo.
right, right. I do expect Charlie to last for a while, but then again, I also expect everyone on this tribe to last for a while because of Jonathan.
Oh, yes. He will be carrying them across the
Maybe
threshold.
literally.
Yes,
Yes.
literally to the win. Yes, I agree. I do think that that's gonna be happening, and I'm not sitting here, like, poo-pooing on Charlie. I think Charlie
Hmm.
is going to do a great job, but I do think that Charlie is going to be someone whose a light has been shined on and people will be focusing on. He is not going to be someone who's going to be able to hide in the background of this particular tribe. He is going to be someone that will be noticed and seen and talked about as a potential concern for doing exceptionally well throughout the duration of the game if he stays in longer than they would like him to.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, we can move on to another robbed G. Otis,
Yes, definitely
Christy.
robbed. Mm-hmm.
So now, one of the questions for Chrissy on the official CBS interview is, what is your strategy going into 50 and how will it differ from the previous time you played? Her answer was one word: win. Now, if this were a new player season, I'd absolutely be making fun of that. That's not a
Mhm.
strategy. But in this case, it just made me laugh because
I know.
so I enjoyed that. Now, of course, she expanded on that in her other interviews. She plans to purposefully not win any individual reward challenges, both to downplay her challenge strength and also so she doesn't burn bridges because, when you win the reward challenges, you have to choose people to
Mhm.
join. Um,
Mhm.
so, and she looks like she's in great shape. I mean, you never know till you get out there. But
Sure.
you know, depending on who else is still in the game by that point, presuming she is, I don't know that she'll really have to throw anything because we're
Yeah.
potentially talking about being up against those like Jonathan and Joe and Ozzy and Dee. So I
Yeah.
think I mean I think she will do well in challenges, but she's going to have stiffer competition this time too.
Well, and also if you look at the breakdown, you've got two puzzle people on the tribe, right? She does puzzles, and you've got
Mhm.
Camilla that does puzzles, and then you do have those individuals you've already mentioned with the strength. And so I think that this tribe is going to be very well balanced as far
Mhm.
as the current structure with the immunity challenges, where oftentimes it ends in a puzzle in addition to very heavy things being moved and being picked up. And
Mhm.
so I think that they will be able to balance things out nicely, that certain people will shine in particular areas, and I think she and Camilla can take up that will be
Right.
the puzzle people, and that will work out well for her, so she doesn't necessarily need to be the physical threat that she has shown herself to
Mhm.
be, because she did remind people throughout the duration of these interviews that a lot of it did come down to a puzzle, right?
Right.
There was a physical component
Mhm.
to it. There's stamina, but it really did come down to a puzzle.
Yeah. Now, Chrissy thinks that her social game will fare better this time because there are more older people, and she isn't
Mhm.
the only one among a crowd of 20 somethings who aren't really interested in talking to her.
Mhm.
And indeed, she's on the same starting tribe as Mike White. So, right there, we have two of them, and she thinks she will get along well with him. As for other players on her tribe, she's met Charlie and believes they'll work together. She wants to help Camilla shine. She worries about Tiffany. She's wary of Jonathan, telling Dalton Ross he, quote, already seems to be incredibly well liked by everyone. He's the kind of guy who makes it to the merge because he's incredibly well liked and gets to the end. And if he's sitting at final three, nobody beats him. And she's somewhat split on D, telling Mike Bloom, all winners got to go, except D. She's awesome. But Foe, she's a winner. So I don't, I don't really know, but I think Chrissy could be put to a test when it comes to D. I obviously don't expect this tribe to lose anytime soon, but
Mhm.
presuming they do at some point, I'm thinking this is going to be on the, it's going to, this tribe is going to break on the pro D versus anti D sides.
Yes, and I tend to agree with that as well, because they seem to be very focused on winners gotta go.
Hmm.
I do think, as far as Christy is concerned with this particular group of people, we also have Coach as well, that I think
Hmm.
is going to be someone that she can
Yes.
gravitate towards. I'm very excited to see her in this element where she will be able to have a social game that she didn't necessarily get to have before.
Right.
And so I'm hopeful that she's able to find that other kind of almost missing piece from her game that didn't exist previously because it couldn't. And so I do really like the structure that we're looking at as far as this group is concerned. And if she is willing to like pick up people like Camilla and wanting to work with younger individuals as well. Yeah, the D component might be tricky, but I think overall she's going to find herself in a good place amongst this group of people. I really I'm excited for on this with this group setting.
Okay. All right. Well, you mentioned Coach, and so we can move on to him. So
Oh
he,
my gosh, when is this from?
this is from, I believe, Run It Up Reno. So this was
Wow.
a number of years ago. Yes, a number of years ago.
Look at
I
your
did.
shirt. Do you still have this shirt?
Yeah, of course I have that shirt. It's the
That's
Heroes versus
great.
Villains shirt.
That's
Um,
great.
I would swear that I took another picture with him at a later Run It Up Reno too, where he was like wearing some sort of weird robe thing. But I couldn't find it, so maybe I didn't get a picture with him at that point.
Oh, that's
But
fascinating.
yes. So Coach is probably the most interesting returning player for me because, like pretty much everyone else, I had strong opinions about him and the way he played the game before.
Mhm.
As you can see, I've met the man, and
Yes.
at least part of the time, it seemed like he was in outer space. But he is doing what Joe could not. He says he wants to change.
Yes. He
And
says he has
admittedly,
changed.
right, admittedly, he's had a lot more time to think about it than Joe did. Okay, I
Mhm.
will grant that.
Mhm.
But Coach says he is playing to win this time, which he hasn't done before because he was always worried about promoting his own like character instead.
Right.
And so now he said in interviews he wants to make war with a clean heart. And in the past, he's of course made war, but he's never admitted to it.
Right.
As he told Mike Bloom, we're out here to wage war on our competitors. I used to box a long time ago, and I would never go in there and not throw a punch. The last three survivors, I walked in with my hands behind my back saying, I can't throw any punches because I won't admit lying to you, or I'm going to lie and then lie about it later. I think owning up to that understanding that I will have to manipulate and lie to a few people along the way, keeping the core of honor and integrity, working with strategic players that I haven't really wanted to work with in the past.
Mhm.
This is mind
I'm
blowing to me. Mind blowing. He's sounding he's sounding like us. I swear we must have made that boxing metaphor in the past. I know that we have said it's like going to a poker game and refusing to bluff or just showing your cards.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
swear we must have made that boxing metaphor before
Maybe
also.
he's been listening to us and
Maybe,
going,
yeah.
That's an interesting point. I should consider that."
Yeah.
I am very in awe of the new potential coach we're going to see because he, like Aussie, has had a character. There is Coach. Everyone knows who Coach is. Everyone can tell you like the things that Coach would do. And like Camilla is in love with Coach. So I
Yes.
think this is going to be so much fun to see because she's got this idea of what Coach is going to be. If he doesn't lean into it a little bit, it might throw people off. They might be like, "Wait, what happened to doing is it like tai chi on the beach? Is that what
Right.
he used to do at the
Yes.
um they'll be expecting this of him." And so I'm hoping he doesn't lose all of those aspects of himself because there is that like we need that in coach.
Hmm.
But if there is this other side of him where he's going to play this game in a different way, I'm so intrigued and excited to see how his newfound life is going to infiltrate his survivor game because he's a dad and he has a family and he has all of these things that he never thought he was going to have, and he's all in on that. And so
Yes.
I'm very curious to see how that is now going to affect his coach persona in the survivor world. I'm excited. I'm excited for this. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah. And, as for the other players on his tribe, you might think he only knows the old school people. But
Mhm.
no, his friendship with Ben Katzman has
Yeah.
allowed him to get to know others. A perfect example is, of course, Charlie, who is a
Mhm.
great friend of Ben's from,
Yes.
playing their season together. I would certainly expect them to work together. He
Mhm.
knows Camilla was saying great things about him in the press during her season.
Mhm.
He told Dalton, I met Dee in Ben's apartment, didn't even know who she was. I met Kyle because Kyle came to one of his shows and had me sign his Bills jersey.
Mhm.
And he separately said he met Jonathan through Mike Turner and told him that they should do it if you want to do it. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So, Coach has a surprisingly large contingent of
Yes.
potential allies already in his tribe.
Yes.
I, I never expected to say this. I think he could do well.
I think he could do very well because he's the thing about coach is that coach, though he might have rubbed people a particular way in
Hmm.
previous seasons, it wasn't necessarily the wrong way. It was just a different way, right? It was like, I'm not really sure what coach is doing, but he's doing this thing. He's being very coach. It was like, so there was kind of this accepted behavior of what coach would do in the seasons that he was in. but he didn't like upset people because of it. But it wasn't a winning strategy. It was just something that people were like, oh, that's coach being coach.
Mhm.
But it wasn't something that was going to get him to win the game. And so if he's able to find that extra thing that he couldn't put into his game previously, it will be very fascinating to watch, because I think he's another one that, like, if he does make it to the end, are people going to be like, well, you know what? Coach is here. Coach is sitting in one of those 3 seats. And maybe we need to have a coach win Survivor 50, because how interesting would that be for the
Right.
season to have coach be the winner of this legendary season. So I agree. I think he's found himself with a really good group of people here. Mhm.
Yeah. All right, we can move on to D. Now, as I hinted at earlier, D is probably the person I'm most worried about in terms of going out first on this tribe.
Mhm.
And again, they have Jonathan. So it's not likely it'll happen right away. But, I expect there to be at least a few instances of 2 tribes voting out people in one episode. And
Mhm.
of course, there's always, I know you said we have 2 puzzle queens on here, but you never know what kind of puzzle is gonna happen, or a ball maze, or
Sure, sure.
something
Mhm.
like that. You can't always control that aspect of
Right,
it.
right, right.
Um, and so, most of the reason I'm concerned with D is the obvious one. She's the winner.
Yeah.
That automatically makes her the biggest threat. Not to mention, she's widely seen as being the most dominant winner of the new era.
Yes. Yes. Mhm.
So she plans to chill out and thinks she can make it through, but I have serious doubts.
I do too, because she is another person that all eyes are on D. Where like
Mhm.
people have seen her game, they've seen how she plays, and she's got everything when it comes to what you need in order to play Survivor, play it well, and win. And I think that everyone who's going to be on her tribe or is on her tribe is going to be like, well, that's what we want. We want that
Right.
opportunity. You've had it, you can go. And I do think that someone like Charlie and Chrissy are going to appreciate the fact that there's a D there, because
Right.
they're the robbed runner up, right. And even Mike White could throw himself in there too and be like,
Yeah.
well, look at me. So yes, there is this idea of like, put her in the forefront. She actually won,
This
as
really
opposed to
is
the
the
three of
this
us.
this really is the Rob G. Otis tribe.
It is, because you've got coach too. So it's like there's so many people here that made it to that final three and didn't win, that I think all of them could come together and go, let's
Right.
get rid of
And
D.
Camilla would have won if she won fire
Yes.
making.
Yes.
I think Jonathan believes he would have won if he had
If he had won
gotten there,
fire making, yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
they should rename this tribe, the Rob G. Otis,
that's exactly what
you
it
know.
should be. So I do think that there is a world in which they could all kind of come together, and that would be their like, we all almost won. She did
Yes.
win. She's got to
Yes.
go. Mhm.
Yes. Still, she did tell Mike Bloom, "I'm so good at building connections and making people like me and making you feel like you're the most important person on the island."
Sure.
But the more I think about it, the less I think they'll fall for it. Uh, Plus, of course, I don't know how much of a role this will play, but they know Emily is on another tribe, and if anyone understands how close the Survivor 45
Yeah.
people are, they
Yeah.
may want to vote out D before they can connect. And,
Mhm.
obviously she's by no means the only person this applies to, but again, the narrative, it could be one more reason on top of the others.
Exactly.
She
Yeah.
does believe she has Charlie on her side. And, based on what we said earlier, I think Charlie expects that as well. But
Mhm.
I don't think he's going to like stand up for her if he sees the
No.
tide is going against her.
No,
Uh,
I think Charlie's going to offer her up on a silver platter if needs be, because
right.
he he doesn't want to be the first one to be focused on. Let's focus on D. If we got to send somebody packing, it's going to be D. It's not going to be Charlie. Yeah.
Right. And she also said she thinks she can work well with Mike White, but Mike said the winners have had their fun and can go.
Yes. So, yes, I think there will be a contingent coming together of we almost won.
Yes.
Almost.
Now, part of me does want to see her get to the end just because she told Dalton Ross she has dreamed of just making stuff up to tell the jury and lying about everything, like holding up a fake idol and pretending she was like Marianne and just never needed to use it. She said, "You don't have to be honest in Final Tribal. Nobody would expect you to be dishonest. For the most part, the jury expects you to be truthful." And I
That
think
is
I
fascinating.
meant to check this, but I think in my Appendix B, I talk about stuff like that. Like, yeah, you can lie if they can't fact check you. Now, the problem is in the current, I mean, even in the previous juries, but especially now, if you say something that anyone else has input on, they'll just all look at them and they'll be like, no, that did not happen. So, yeah.
Right. But
You would,
a
yeah,
fake idol, you
right.
be
But,
like, I found this, I never
yeah,
needed to play it. I mean, that would
right.
be an interesting thing to lie about.
Yes.
Mm,
So, but I don't think she's going to have the opportunity to put that
no,
plan into action.
no, I don't think so.
All right. Well, we could move on to Jonathan, who is going to be the main support structure of this tribe in the early goings. Um,
Literally and
yes,
figuratively.
yes. I think it's almost guaranteed he'll make the merge. I don't
Yes.
see them voting out the muscles early, which
No.
is funny because I was looking back at last season. Those are the exact words I used about Jake last season.
Yeah.
Now, you know, that was Jake, and there was other factors at play there. So just stay away from the snakes. That's all I'm saying.
Please stay away from
But
the snakes.
several people said they wanted to work with him early and then cut him, which of course is what they should be saying.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I will I will say that Jonathan is someone that everybody wanted on their tribe because they
Mm-hmm.
all saw what his capabilities were
They're
in
not dummies.
challenges.
Yeah.
They're right, exactly. This is a smart
Yeah.
cast here, and they've seen it. They know what his capabilities are. So, like, yes, please, please, please let Jonathan be
Mm-hmm.
on my tribe. And I mean, you just look at this cast, like the tribe photo. It's like you can't help but notice
Right.
Jonathan because he is so present. And so I do think that he is going to certainly help them avoid going to tribal. And I do think that he is someone, in addition to the physical component that he will bring to the game, there's been a lot of talk about him kind of leaning old school, which you can see from my shirt. I
Mm-hmm.
do like some old school. And I think that that is something we can expect from Jonathan. That, I mean, he's really close with Boston Rob. And I think that he will gravitate towards that type of player as well. So I think, he and coach, that'll be an interesting dynamic to see coming together. There's not very many, like I would say, old school options for him on this tribe, but I think overall there might be something that would, if he makes the merge and they come together with some other old school
Mm-hmm.
players, I think that that could certainly bode well for Jonathan in this mindset that I think he would gravitate towards some old school players very, very well.
Yeah, and he's telling us that he's playing a different game now, in part
Mm,
because he has learned at the feet of Boston Rob, who is a good friend. He wants everyone to think he's the same, and he's just concerned about fishing and challenges and the like.
mm,
Quote, I want them to think I don't have a strategic bone in my body. But he has a few tips he's gotten from Rob, including to try to see the game from his opponent's eyes, not just his own, never trust
mhm,
anyone too much, smile, and only worry about the things he can control. Now, to me, the first one is the most important. And this will be key in determining whether he can actually succeed. Understanding how others see you means you can adapt and also, in some ways, as we've been talking about here, control the narrative of what
mhm.
they think.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, because another thing he said, he told Mike Bloom, and this just flat out made me laugh. In this season in particular, there are so many big threats. I believe I can hide behind them. Okay, what did you just mention about that photo?
Yeah, he doesn't mean actually hide.
I don't know, but yeah, even if he did try to hide behind them, he's bigger than all of them. It's like an elephant hiding behind a sapling.
That would
I
be a great picture of him trying to hide behind like Camila.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And
oh, little old me. Yeah.
he said, I haven't been on the On Fire podcast with Jeff Probst. I haven't won $1 million. I've got nobody from my season here working with me.
Mhm.
All of these things, it's ammunition for the targets. And
Oh, that's yes. Mhm.
that's great. He's right that there are other targets. But when it comes to merge, he is a literal giant among them and will stand out the most.
But that is a very interesting thing that I didn't realize until just now. Chrissy also has no one from her season as
Mhm.
well. So they're both kind of on their own islands, right? So that might be something that would bring them together as well. That and I do respect his uh idea there that there are larger targets than him
Mhm.
because yes, he is physically the largest person, but as far as gameplay is
Yeah.
concerned, I do think that yes, 100% there are other people that will be the focal point, but there is that once you get to the merge idea and the winning of challenges, that will certainly be a concern for everyone.
Right.
But there's a lot of challenge beasts on this whole season. There
There are,
there
but he's
are
the
quite a
beastiest.
few. Oh, did you say beastiest? Is that what
Yes.
you said? That's a new word, beastiest.
It fits.
It does fit. It definitely fits. So, but yes, I think that that Jonathan will carry his tribe along the way
Yes.
for quite some time.
Yeah. Now,
Because
I know that I haven't exactly been a fan of Jonathan. That is not a surprise to anyone because of his style of play the first time out. But much like I said for Joe and Coach and Ozzy, if he does actually change and
hmm
do a better job of playing the game, I'm willing to be convinced. I'm always willing to change my mind based on new information.
absolutely.
We will just have
hmm
to see what happens.
We will. We will see.
Okay. Moving on to someone who's almost the exact same size, we have Camilla. Um,
She is
very
mighty.
close. Very
She
close.
is mighty.
If they're standing next to each other, you really can barely tell them apart.
Of course. Of
Um,
course.
she is in a sticky spot coming into this
Mm,
game immediately after everyone else saw her admit to throwing people under buses and lying and having a super secret ally who she helped win the
mm-hmm.
game.
Yeah.
But that last part could actually help because it showed she was incredibly loyal and willing to look at things objectively. And
Mm-hmm.
like, as just one example, I have to imagine Charlie was jealous and would have loved to work with someone like her on his season. Like,
Yes.
oh, someone who doesn't flip the jury against me after
Yeah,
working with me
wasn't
the
that
whole time?
discussed? I think that was discussed, maybe with, Mike Bloom, that yeah, wouldn't have been great if Camilla had
Yeah,
been his plus one? Yeah,
yeah.
mhm, yeah,
Plus we've already talked about how Coach is a big fan because of how big a fan she is of him. So that's
mhm,
a couple people she can work with right off the bat.
yeah. Well, and I feel for Camilla because I agree wholeheartedly with her anger, if you even want to call it anger, that Kyle is there. She's like, "Why is he here? Like, really? Why?" And I feel for her
I'm still
because
not convinced that's real. I'm still not convinced she's lying. I mean, because the two of them lied a little bit in post-game interviews
sure, sure.
to hide things, especially Camilla. I wouldn't put it past her to be lying now about being upset that Kyle is there.
And that is a very fair point, but I do think that it makes the most sense because like if I were Camilla, I would want to I mean, she's willing to
Mhm.
cut Kyle, she said, but like also like I want to have my own game. I don't want
Right.
to be attached to Kyle in the next season I'm playing too. Like I can play this game and I can play this without Kyle. I don't need to be taken down by
Right.
Kyle. I would like to be able to just do this myself. And so I do think that that was it's kind of a tough spot for her to be in as far as like separating herself, but they're not on the same tribe. And so she will have
Yeah.
some time to do so. And she'll have chances to, I think, as you indicated, ingratiate herself to the likes of Coach
Mhm.
and Charlie and we you've mentioned Chrissy as well that Chrissy has an interest in Camilla. So she seems to be in a very good spot with this particular group as well because there are a lot of options available to her and I think she would lean in very heavily with somebody like a Jonathan in a like hey Jonathan let me help you because I
Mhm.
can help you you do your like brute strength and be strong and feed us and then I will do this secret behind the scenes strategizing and no one will see us working together. I could see Camilla doing that as well. So I think her chances with this particular group are very good.
Yeah, I mean, I would worry that at some point someone might say, it would suck if she did end up losing because Oh, well, we don't want you to get together with Kyle.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. That would be
So
terrible.
So hopefully that, doesn't happen, but we'll just
Mhm.
have to keep an eye on things. I do have fewer thoughts about Camilla from her interviews, maybe because she's so recent, but I think she'll do well. Uh, I can't imagine people will see her as a big threat compared to most of the others.
Right.
A
But
bigger
she's
worry,
scary.
yeah, well, a bigger worry would be if she can't hold her own in a challenge and they somehow lose. But I
Mm.
just don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think
So,
she's just going to be more of a scary type of player because
mhm.
they've seen what she can do, which is the very quick decisions on the fly. I mean, Charlie talked about that 10 seconds. That's all you need to like
Yeah,
change the entire course of a game. That is certainly scary.
yeah. All right, now we move on to the scariest. That is Mike White. Um,
He's so
he
scary.
he is in a position that probably no other player has ever been. He's the most famous Survivor player ever.
Mhm.
Uh, he made it to the end and lost, and probably could have won if he'd pushed harder.
Yeah.
He already has plenty of money, and he has the ability to get people guest star roles on White Lotus. Plus, he likely isn't seen as a threat, in part for some of the reasons I just mentioned. And he's
Mhm.
just a nice guy who lots of other people say they want to sit and talk to. So
Yeah.
I expect him to be around for a while.
Yeah, or he won't be because people will look at him for all of the reasons you just said and be like, he doesn't need to be here.
Well,
He
yes.
doesn't need any of this. He's got plenty of money. He has a great job. He has White Lotus. He's doing all of these things. Why does he need to be playing Survivor? And also, we have seen he puts people on White Lotus. And
Mhm.
so there is a concern potentially that if you become buddies with Mike White, you get to be on TV in
Mhm.
addition to just being on TV with Survivor. Like you get to go be on White Lotus. So I see that working against him as well. That might be
Mhm.
all of the reasons why someone would say Mike White's got to go.
I I think so, but I don't think that will happen for a while. I think people will
Mm-hmm.
want to hang out with him for a while, and then maybe as things tick down closer, they'll be like, "Okay, now is about the time to get rid of him."
Yeah, I could see that too. It's a very
Yeah.
similar type of. It's not a Jonathan because I'm the size of a
Right.
giant, but it's I'm Mike White and I have
A different type of
the
giant.
a different type of giant, right? I have the
Yeah.
ability to be giant in different ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that that's probably likely to be an issue down the road.
Yeah. Now, I do want to say we love Mike White because he says
Yes.
things like, "I hope the votes influence the fan votes influence the producers to minimize random advantages and twists.
Yes, please.
Character is plot. Great characters create great stories."
Thank
Yes,
you, White.
say that loudly to
Yes.
Jeff. Make
Yes.
sure Jeff hears you.
Yes. It should be about the people and not these advantages and tricks and tchotchkes and whatever. It's about the people playing the game. Thank you, Mike White.
Yes.
Mhm. It's
Now,
almost like he, I don't know, casts people for a living. Isn't
yeah,
that
wow,
crazy?
crazy. Um, he did, speaking of that, he did tell Mike Bloom, "I definitely think that being a storyteller is pretty much my only skill set. But I also feel like that is a skill on Survivor that is actually helpful. Being able to
Mhm.
see people in their narrative, being able to articulate that and kind of get in people's heads about who might be a threat or what's an interesting story,
Yes.
because everybody wants to be the winner of Survivor, but they also want to be the star of the show." And this
Mhm.
is exactly what Christian was talking about, that he said he learned from Mike. So
Yeah.
if the two of them both make it to the merge, it'll be interesting to see if they narrate together or there is a
Mm,
clash of stories. And,
yes.
Christian has also said that as much as they're friends, he has no intention of letting Mike get to the end again because this time he'll win. So things could get very interesting between the two of them, and I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too because we also one of the things that what oh it was Christian. We didn't talk about this when we talked about Christian, but Christian had kind of broken down the 24 individuals into the groups of people that he
Mhm.
thought was the reason why they were chosen and
Right.
he put himself right next to Mike, that they were both like the storytellers or the comedic individuals, if you will. And so it will be an interesting dynamic to see if they do come together at a merge, and then suddenly are there like dueling banjos, where they both want to be able to be the front and center and tell the story, but only one of them will really be able to do so. Yes, interesting.
All right. Well, we can move on to the final person in this tribe, and that is Tiffany. Now, she said something along the same lines as a number of other players, as she told Mike Bloom, I'm not the only target out there. Aussie's right there. Siri's right there. Christian's right there. Aubrey's right there. What are you looking at little old me for? I didn't play my idol. I went home with it in my pocket. There's much bigger targets out here. And the thing is, I don't exactly know why she's saying this, because unlike most of the other people who said it, she's right. She was probably the person I heard the most reactions from when she was announced.
Some people didn't even know who she was.
Right. And I think the same will be true from the players. She's not the big name, big threat that we see in most of the other players out there. Savannah even told Mike Bloom she didn't even get as far as some of the other people who are playing Survivor 50 have gotten. So I think Tiff is going to be very under the radar, especially at the beginning. And I think that's going to give her a huge advantage out there. I don't think people are going to realize how big of a threat Tiff actually is, because honestly, I feel like she will have an amazing social game. I feel like she'll be able to hold her own in some of the challenges. And I feel like before any of us realize, she'll end up being at the final 3 or something. And I think Savannah could very well have a point, because if we look at the history of returning player seasons, this was not an uncommon occurrence at the start. Like Amber, the very first person to receive the reaction when she was brought back for All-Stars. That was all of us were saying. And let me tell you, Amber was a lot more than Tiffany was. I see a lot more reason to bring Tiffany back than I ever did to bring Amber back. And even Sandra winning Heroes versus Villains was in part because people didn't properly credit her game and realize what kind of a threat she really could be. Yes, they knew she won, but they didn't see her as a big threat type of winner.
Right. Well, and I think Tiffany is, out of everyone who was put on this cast, she was the one that I really paused the most, trying to recollect what she did in her season that would have shined such a light on her to bring her back to season 50. And I thought it was really an interesting choice for Jeff when he had an opportunity to let the world know who was going to be on season 50. And when he was introducing Tiffany, and the reason he provided for Tiffany being on 50 was that she always like Q made her want to pull out her own hair. So now she's on season 50. And I'm like, wait, because she got frustrated with Q, you've put her on 50? Like it seems like a very odd decision. I did have to go back and look at some of her game to recollect what she did. And she did do some great things. I'm not trying to downplay anything that she did. But I do think that she is someone who so many members of the cast are having that same reaction, like, why are we seeing Tiffany? What's the plan here? Why is she here? And I think personally, and this is my humble opinion, that Q really is the only reason why she was put on this season, is because of Q, because they wanted to have Q and they wanted to have some balance with Q. And so they needed some play on Q. So they were like, oh, well, if we pick someone from his season, well, then that could help us with Q, because Q is so unpredictable that let's give him some predictability. Let's give him something that we know associated with Q. And that was Tiffany. Tiffany was like yelling at Q and they were arguing and she was losing it with Q. And so they're like, oh, well, there we are. So it's purely for the Q aspect of the game. And then also, well, she was a good player as well, and she did things that were memorable, and so it kind of balanced itself out. But I agree with Savannah that no one is going to be looking at Tiffany and thinking she's the one we've got to worry about, because she will be able to fly under the radar, because people are not looking at her like an Aussie or a coach or even a Jonathan for that matter, because she doesn't stand out in that way. And I agree wholeheartedly with what Savannah said about her as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think she was certainly overshadowed by Q. I think this
Yes.
is almost it's almost like an apology. Like, we're sorry we put you on the same starting tribe as Q, because
But now
you're
we're
a
going
good,
to put you
yeah.
on the same season as Q again.
Well, yeah, but a different starting tribe at least,
Sure,
But
sure.
I mean, she was a good strategist, and
Mhm.
I think she had a lot of potential on that season. Um, but she also left with an idol in her pocket.
Right.
And, now she does insist that this time she's going to follow her own advice and, one, not tell anyone about the idol if she finds it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
two, actually play it.
Yes.
And
And those are great things to plan for. Yes.
yes. And in addition, she told Mike Bloom, one thing that I'm trying to work on is giving away how I feel with my facial expressions because I feel like I don't have a very good poker face, and we're going to work on that this time. A lot of times when people get frazzled, they make mistakes. And I did that. I got frazzled, and instead of sitting down and focusing on what my next steps would be, I just let my emotions guide me. And then I ended up just cussing Q out. And then I got mad and I was running around like a crazy person. So we're not going to do that this time. If she can fix those issues, it will go a long way towards
Mhm.
helping her go a long way, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I do think that it was I'm sure that there were some conversations had between she and Q when they both found out that they were going on
Yeah.
to 50. And she did say that Q and Tiffany are friends outside of Survivor, but
Hmm.
Q and Tiffany are not friends in Survivor. So
Yes.
that will also be an interesting dynamic to see come together should they come together and
Right.
emerge.
Right. Now, she, of course, does start on the same tribe as Charlie, who voted her out and who she
Mm,
didn't vote for to win.
mhm.
But she thinks they can work together, at least early on, which goes along with what he said. And I think she'll do fine and be around for a while.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And I do think that N her knowing Charlie will be to Charlie's benefit in a way
Hmm.
because they do have that ability to kind of look out for each other because they are players that are returning from the same season, which can put a target on them immediately because there could be a potential duo. So if they're able to work that into a better story is like, but no, look, I voted her out and she didn't vote for me to win. You really think we're
Hmm.
working together?
Right.
That they might be able to keep that under wraps and not have that be what's considered by this group moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So that is that full tribe. Um, as I said, it's almost guaranteed Jonathan will make the merge. I really
Yes.
think the same can be said about Coach Mike, Tiffany, and Camilla. And I think Dee could be in trouble for one of the same reasons as Savannah, and that's she won. She's not in quite the same position because
Mhm.
other people know her game and saw her game. Still, Mr. Narrative, Mike White, wants her out. As I said earlier, I don't expect this tribe to lose anytime soon, but when they do, or heck, we've seen both tribes go to tribal council. Maybe we'll see all three tribes go to tribal council one time.
Wouldn't
Um,
that be lovely?
I I see things breaking into this pro D versus anti D side. And
Yeah.
so I hate to sound like a broken record, but I really think the anti winner vibe will win the day and D will be first out from this group.
And I completely agree with you, and I'm going to add a little extra component to it
Hmm.
because I don't see this tribe going to tribal council first. But if for instance, the last tribe we just talked about, Cila, does go to tribal council first and the winner gets sent home first. Well, now you've introduced that idea to
Right.
all of the other groups that, oh, we can just vote out the winner first and everyone will understand. It
Yes.
will be one of those like moments that can bring together all of these three tribes. If everyone looks at it and says, vote out the winner first, and then they can all feel like those decisions were based upon that
Hmm.
one general consensus.
Yep. Yep. All right, so there we are. Those are our thoughts on the first two tribes. Join us in a few days when we discuss part two, which will be the Vatu tribe, and most
Mhm.
importantly, Jessica cursing someone. I mean, our overall predictions.
I am. I'm so sorry. I will be cursing someone. And I just want to give a little inkling, a little insight as to what
Mm.
might be discussed as well. There's a very interesting these tribe names, what they mean. Hmm, interesting.
Oh,
We haven't
okay.
discussed it, but we
I
will be
don't know that.
discussing it.
I do not look into things like that. So,
Oh, I
um,
did, and when I said, "Oh my goodness," it's like they're playing with Jessica's head. So just be ready.
is one of them rock?
Yes,
Oh, ah,
yes, I was stunned. I could not believe it. But the Vatu tribe, it actually the Vatu means rock.
oh my.
Just want y'all to know that.
Mm. All right. Well, until next time, I want to let everybody know we didn't mention this earlier that the rules
Oh
that we will be
yes.
talking about all season long are available as a poster. And so you can
Mm-hmm.
go to robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed, scroll down, click on it, and order away. And
Yes.
the poster is, as I'm wearing, also available on a t-shirt, or you can get the checklist on a t-shirt. Maybe Joe needed this t-shirt. He said he needed a checklist. Maybe this is what he
There it
needed. It's
is. Joe, we've
literally
made it
why
for you.
blank lost. It literally lists out the reasons there. So Joe, get yourself a
Joe.
t-shirt.
That's right.
Um,
We got you all hooked up here.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's robhasawebsite.com/yxlostfeed. Now, Jessica, I don't
Yes.
know if you queued up your stuff for the next part here,
Oh, for the thanking people or where they can find us. I don't
where
know
they
where
can
we're at
find
right
us.
now. So
Yes.
where they can find us, well, I'm at Jessica Lewis 89 on both Blue Sky and Twitter. Although I really haven't been posting very much as of late. I will likely be doing so more now that Survivor is starting again. My social media is really just kind of all wrapped into Survivor stuff. So, but that is at Jessica Lewis 89. And on Instagram, I'm at Jessica Lewis 6789. But really, all I really do over there is copy and paste from this gentleman sitting next to me because he does so many things on Instagram with the stories, but he also has so much social media content. It's almost insane. It's a little crazy. He did mention one video that he made. I assure you there will be so many TikToks coming from this man during Survivor 50. So why don't you show them all of the places that they can find you because there are so many.
Yes, you can find all of them at Linktree/David Bloomberg. Or you could find me directly on Blue Sky as at David Bloomberg and on video sites, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, where I'm at David Bloomberg TV. Even now in the Survivor off season, I've been posting 2 or 3 reality TV short videos every day, mostly the traders right now for obvious reasons,
Mm,
with some looking ahead to Survivor, some covering shows like Extracted, which Sandra Diaz Twine and her daughter Nina are on, and some on Beast Games. But that will obviously be changing soon as, Survivor starts up again.
mm-hmm.
I've even been doing mini Why Blank Lost videos for every player knocked out of the Traders. And I have been co-hosting the Tradar podcast for the Traders US. You can find that wherever you get podcasts and in video on YouTube as well. So,
Amazing.
yeah,
So many
make sure to
places.
check all of that out. And then as we wrap up, I want to encourage people to check out the RHAP patron program at robhasawebsite.com/patron. You get access to all the special podcasts that are put out just for patrons, plus Facebook groups, Discord. There are going to be like 4 live shows, I think, this
Mm,
season. And you can get first access to those. You can get discounts. And of course, you can support shows like ours and everything on the network by becoming a patron at robhasawebsite.com/patron. Plus, with Survivor 50 coming, make sure you're subscribed to all of the RHAP Survivor podcasts by going to, it's right there below us, there, we know survivor.com. You'll see all the various Survivor podcasts. You can select your podcast service of choice. You'll get all the great content, like, of course, us, the
mm-hmm.
Know-It-Alls, the B&B, Survivor International, and much more. And so, just go there, make sure you're subscribed.
You definitely should. And I would like to thank, and so would David, all of the work at the RHAP, just content, website, people, everyone, because RHAP provides so many incredible avenues for not only individuals such as David and I who actually create these podcasts, but for all of the content and the various things that they create podcasts for, and the listeners such as yourselves that get to enjoy all of that content. Thank you to Scott St. Pierre for all of the editing that he does and the great team that he's put together with that editing. Thank you to Will from America for the theme song that he created for the audio version that you do here of this particular podcast. And I know that there's so many more people I need to thank, but essentially we just appreciate all of the work that RHAP does for the content that is provided, for the things that are created, and the avenues in which it allows us to celebrate everything Survivor 50 and Survivor related, and also every other reality TV you can possibly think about is on RHAP. So thank you so much. And David, thank you for making it through 2 hours with me. It's been a long time since we've done this. It's been a bit. It's been a bit.
It has. It has. And thank you, of course, for doing all that prep work, printing out 200 and some pages, burning through your printer there at home just so you can, get this all done. And yeah, 2 hours, almost on the button. It literally clicked to 2 hours as I said 2 hours, at least on our timer. I know with commercials and stuff, it'll be different. But so yes, thank you very much. We will be back in a few days. Watch for us. And, we will see everyone soon. Bye.
Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.